To begin researching the paper with raised lines, I came to Wolfson's Children's Rehabilitation, where my son Jaden receives occupational therapy once a week. One advantage to the paper with raised lines is that you can make it yourself. Here, Jaden's occupational therapist is making it using a ruler and construction paper and a pencil, and it will make the raised line on the other side. And the raised line it's hard to see there, but it can be gone over with a marker to make the line where the student can see it. And then the lines can be spaced in any way for the student. With my son Jaden, it is easier for him to write with smaller lines than with the bigger lines, and here an occupational therapist or a teacher can create the lines custom for the child. To encourage Jaden with his writing, he gets to choose what to write, and today from his book he has chosen to write something about dinosaurs.
Ready? All right, I'm going to put this up here. Let's write it on the line. You feel that? One big advantage to raised line paper is kids that have trouble with placement of their letters. Can you write it on the blue line for me? Not only can they see the line, but they also feel the line. They get a little bit of tactile input in combination with the vision to help them to know where to place their letters. Awesome. It's difficult to find too many disadvantages to the raised line paper, but right now commercially available, you can't find it too much in the smaller lines. Kids like Jaden, he actually does better writing smaller, and as they get older, you don't want to use the kindergarten paper, which is usually what you can find in a store with the raised line. Unfortunately, you can't find a lot of it unless you're going through therapy catalogs that's actually made such as like your typical wide-ruled school paper. Especially with raised lines, that's kind of hard to make too because it takes up so much space. That really being the only disadvantage I can find.
Speaking with my son's OT, I spoke with the school occupational therapist, Mrs. Newell, and got some information from her about the handwriting difficulties that she deals with in the school system. Some variety of lined papers. Here is one that she said it would be helpful for upper elementary and definitely children with visual impairments. This paper is very similar to the third grade paper, except that instead of being sideways, it is up and down. I had never seen this type. These two are not available in the stores. In the stores, it is only the kindergarten paper that you can find easily, such as at Walmart and at teacher supply stores. The third type of paper that she had looks very similar to notebook paper that you may see in middle school or high school, except it does not have the holes. The lines are green and raised. The lines on all of these papers are raised to help the children. The school occupational therapist, Carrie Newell, typed up some notes for me about what she felt with the raised lined paper, and I will read what she had to say. As a school occupational therapist, I find raised line papers to be an effective tool to assist children with visual, attention, and fine motor difficulties with handwriting performance when used in a consistent manner. There are a variety of raised line papers to choose from. I prefer to use the paper that provides both visual and tactile cues. I also prefer the paper that provides increased spacing between lines so that it is not visually distracting to the student. Many of the types of raised line paper are too visually distracting, so it is important to choose one that is simple and visually pleasing. Students who benefit from raised line paper are able to improve line alignment and sizing of letters. Used alone or along with a weighted writing utensil, it provides many students with the extra tactile and proprioceptive input they need to space and size their writing appropriately. The cons of using raised line paper include the cost and availability. Currently, most raised line papers are only found online on specialty therapy websites. Also, it is important for the child to use the paper consistently for at least a few weeks to make permanent difference in their handwriting performance. The use of this paper can be very effective. However, it is not always a practical tool for the public school system due to cost, availability, and lack of consistent efforts from all persons who work with the student throughout the school day. Success with this tool also involves commitment and support from parent or guardian. Not only are there a variety of raised line writing papers, but there are also many other raised line products. There are raised line alphabet sheets, number sheets, and coloring pages. The raised line products I use are the most are the coloring pages and the basic double line with large spaces between the lines handwriting paper. It is also possible to make your own raised line paper. You can run a glue strip along the lines of your desired writing paper and let it dry. It is a very cost-effective way to create raised lined paper. However, I personally find it too time-consuming, especially for everyday use. It is also hard to get the lines exactly straight and with a consistent amount of glue. Handwriting is such a complex task. It involves the use of just about every sense in our bodies. Unfortunately, it is not a skill that is formerly taught in our public schools anymore, and it is quickly becoming an epidemic of children with dysgraphia. Greater than 80% of the referrals I receive are for children with handwriting difficulties. Of that 80%, I would say that approximately half of the students do not have an underlying visual motor or fine motor issue. They were just never taught the mechanics of how to write their letters. There are many tools out there to help children remediate their writing, raised line paper included, but there is just no substitute for learning correctly from the start. So based on that information, I decided to try my hand using this is typical handwriting paper. These are the kindergarten lines, and this is called the third grade line paper, but both are used in the elementary classrooms. And I am going to try both Elmer's liquid glue and a hot glue gun and see what is able to work for me. And next I will try the hot glue gun on the same piece of paper and just see the difference in the way that the glue dries and the ease of use. I did find that it was difficult to keep the glue straight, and there are spaces where it is very thin, and then there are places where there are globs. But overall, very quick, and we will see how it dries. Now I am ready to try the hot glue gun. The biggest difference that I see immediately is that instead of it being white, it is clear immediately, so I like that the child will be able to see the color of the line through the glue. And I also notice that it is much easier to keep it an even stream than it was with the Elmer's glue. And I am going to see how long it takes for each set of lines to dry, because of course as a classroom teacher this is a time-consuming process as it is, but if one will dry more quickly, then of course that can help get the child ready to do the activities that the rest of the class is doing. After less than 5 minutes, the hot glue lines are completely dry. And so they would be ready to use. The liquid Elmer's glue, still completely wet, not ready to use at all. So based on my short little experiment, I would say for ease of classroom use, in order to be consistent and help the child, the hot glue gun would be extremely effective. And another way to implement the hot glue gun, if you use a worksheet or something with the lines already on it, it's clear, not easily noticeable, and can help the child do the activities that the rest of the class is doing without having completely different paper.